And we say greetings, this is Kabanka Pyramid representing the Lion Voice vlog. Make sure that them check it out and stay tuned. Seeing Rastafari blessings every time.
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
The first of the 7 principles is Umoja, which is unity. And the principles is described as to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. So this is what the Kwanzaa principle is. We have a Haile Selassie quote that says,
so we start with unity, Umoja, and we go to the unity and brotherhood section of the Wise Mind, and it says, wherever there is African blood, there is a basis for greater unity. The example of the developed countries amply proves the truth of the proverb, unity is strength. Our greatest asset is our unity, and we must exploit it to its fullest. The people of a country who have fought incessantly for their independence understand that unity is the foundation of liberty.
The year is 1892, and the land of Ethiopia has been experiencing 4 years of terrible famine and drought. They call it the Kikuken, or the evil days. At least 1/3 of the human population and 90% of the cattle have died. The hyenas have feasted on so many carcasses that they have become overweight and barely able to move. Just when the people could take no more of the evil days, a woman named Wasiro Yeshimabe is giving birth in a place called Erjersa Gora. This is her 9th attempt to bring forth new life. Her previous 8 attempts only resulted in death. Will this child live? Thankfully, a healthy baby boy is born. His first cries are drowned by thunder and lightning flashes across the night sky. The heavens open up and torrential rain starts to fall. Ethiopia's drought is over, and the baby boy is given the name Tafari, meaning one to be feared or respected. LIDJ Tafari's father, Ras Tafari, is a very important man in 1892 Ethiopia. Although he is overjoyed at the birth of his newborn son, he cannot spend much time with him. Ras Tafari is the governor of Harar and must get back to the famous walled city to deal with its affairs. Furthermore, he is the foreign minister of Ethiopia, and having traveled to different places in Europe, he is very aware of the material and military advances they have made and the looming threats they pose to his country. Ras Tafari knows that the majority of Ethiopians have no idea what is coming, and that he has to work that much harder to secure the realm. LIDJ Tafari would grow up to become the legendary emperor, Haile Selassie I. To understand his journey, we must first understand the Ethiopia that he was inheriting, and what it was like when he was born in 1892. Get your copy of Kwesi Bansu's book, Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, and increase your knowledge about the history, politics, and culture of Ethiopia in 1892, and how it connects to the rest of African and world history at the time. Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1 is available for purchase at www.bookmanexpress.pub. Please visit for more information.
alright, so let's look at the Nguzo Saba and if they relate or how they relate, because we're not even go if, because they do, how they relate to His Majesty teaching. So the first of the 7 principles is Umoja, which is unity. And the principles is described as to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. So this is what the Kwanzaa principle is. We have a Haile Selassie quote that says,
so we start with unity, Umoja, And we go to the unity and brotherhood section of the wise mind, and it says, wherever there is African blood, there is a basis for greater unity. The example of the developed countries amply proves the truth of the proverb, unity is strength. Our greatest asset is our unity, and we must exploit it to its fullest. The people of a country who have fought incessantly for their independence understand that unity is the foundation of liberty. So I think that's enough to show His Majesty's stance on unity, which is the first principle.
I see. So these are His Majesty quotes to defend that. Kuji Chakalia, self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. And there are so many quotes of His Majesty that we could read for that one.
The second principle is Kuji Chakalia, self-determination. For that, we go to the section of the wise mind on independence. And His Majesty says, this world was not created piecemeal. Africa was born no later and no earlier than any other geographical area on the globe. Africans no more nor less than other men possess all the human attributes, talents, and deficiencies, virtues, and faults. Africa has been reborn as a free continent, and Africans have been reborn as free men. The blood that was shed, the sufferings that were endured are today's Africa's advocates for freedom and unity. Since freedom is an issue upon which the national existence itself depends, it becomes a sacred obligation of primary importance for a people of one family united in their own common life and in oneness of mind and spirit to preserve their free and pleasant way of life from all external danger and thus being able to advance along the path of progress. And I do one more because self-determination was so much in His Majesty's teachings. His Majesty said the glories and advantages of freedom cannot be purchased with all the world's material wealth. Look there. Freedom's price is the sacrifice of lives of innumerable heroes. And in deep realization of this, it becomes a duty of freemen everywhere to be ever prepared for the defense of their freedom. All right, so Koji Chakalia.
I think that's the whole selected speeches talks about the importance of Ethiopia's independence and how Ethiopia's fought to preserve their independence. So Kuji Chakalia definitely. Ujima, to build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and solve them together. So collective work, His Majesty coined the term collective security on the international scene. So that goes without saying.
There is neither shame nor disgrace in a day's work well and truly done. Whatever the task and whatever the rank or status of the worker, the farmer and the laborer who have toiled diligently throughout the day have earned their bread and honest sleep. But the man, whatever his rank, who has spent his time in idleness, whose hand has been turned to little of profit or value during his working hours, has earned only the scorn and disdain of his fellow men whom he has cheated. Have not those many nations which today are called advanced become so through the toil and labor of their peoples? It is easy to begin, but hard to finish. A mature mind and a wealth of experience are needed to decide upon the time and place where strength and skill may be the most effectively combined. Strength may be useless where skill is required. So that's the collective work and responsibility.
And that's what we are really pushing on this platform. Number 4, Ujama, Cooperative Economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and businesses and profit from them together. So you see these principles, family, even though Ran Karenga might be a beast or whatever he is, or whether he get corrupted, and maybe he started, like many of our leaders with ideals and got corrupted down the way, or maybe he was framed. I mean, there's so many possibilities. He's compromised, but you can see from these principles, the principles are solid. You know what I mean? They are things that need to be highlighted in our community. And His Majesty talked about cooperative economics.
Next, we have Ujama, which is cooperative economics. From that, I'm going to read from the development section of the Wise Mind. His Majesty says, let us not be too proud to face, honestly and frankly, the fact that by the standards of the modern world, the African peoples today are poor. Our poverty need not cover us with shame. But just as we must not be too proud to recognize the facts of Africa's economic situation as it exists today, so we must not be cast down or discouraged by the magnitude of the problems which face us. For Africa is potentially rich. And this applies to Rastafari and Rastafari culture, people, intellectual property, the whole gambit. Our task is to improve the economic lot of all African peoples, to raise them to a standard of living comparable to that enjoyed in the most highly developed regions of the world today. This task and a challenge which must be met, and because this touches all of us, all must labor and work for the success in this endeavor. The ultimate resource of a nation is its people. Unless this resource is employed for the benefit of the nation, unless the latent good which it represents is exploited to the maximum extent for the common good, the nation will languish poor in spirit, lacking in achievement. So, the last thing I'll say around cooperative economics is, he says, the means of destroying poverty and ignorance are education and work.
Yeah, go up on North Road. Haile Selassie the first. Children. Well, you're gonna do two things when you hear this song. You either gonna move or you gonna leave. You have to move. Either way you gonna bounce or you have to rest. You have to bounce. I tell them bounce, I tell them bounce, tell them bounce. Can't buy my soul for no bank account. I tell them bounce, I tell them bounce, tell them bounce. Blessings where we got too much they can't count. Would you sell your people poison to make a dime? If you knew that they were dying, would you change your mind? Would you embrace crime? Would you risk life in a cage? Or would you even care as long as you got paid? You never been a slave, still you slave for the cash. If the price was right, you would have sell your ass. Far as I can see, you don't know your past. You just a follow dirty Babylon till Babylon crash. Tell them bounce, I tell them bounce, tell them bounce. Can't buy my soul for no bank account. I tell them bounce, I tell them bounce, tell them bounce. Blessings where we got too much you can't count. Tell them bounce, I tell them bounce, tell them bounce. Work hard for my money, work for large amounts. I tell them bounce, I tell them bounce, tell them bounce. Blessings where we got too much they can't count. Would you put on a dress? Would you put on a blouse? Would you do anything just to move the crowd? Would you take off your clothes? Would you spread out and pose just to get some diamond and some gold? Would you call your people nigger, then ask them to wave? If your people were in trouble, then how would you behave? If the beast came out the cave and started to rage, would you be afraid? Or would you tell them bounce?